My next guest is Tim Adams. He heads up the IIF. Let's have a conversation about all the global issues. Good morning. Welcome to Bloomberg.
Good morning, Manus. Thank you for having me.
So, we wake it up this morning. America's gone to the polls. It looks like the Democrats are going to take the House. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to the world? What does that mean from your perspective at IIF?
Well, it's divided government in Washington, which means probably more paralysis, which gives the president something to shoot at going forward. He'll certainly run against Nancy Pelosi. The next election is 727 days from now, and the race has just started.
Do you think that there's any industries which are under big risk? I quoted Maxine Waters a little bit earlier from California. She said she's going to do to banks what they did to us. Do the banks and financial institutions have anything to worry about by a House run by the Democrats?
I don't think so. Certainly there'll be hearings and maybe a little bit of noise. I think banks are pretty safe. I think pharmaceuticals are in the spotlight, and maybe big tech with respect to data privacy and privacy generally.
Do you think that's a common area that they could coalesce around, Trump and the Democrats?
I don't think there will be many areas. Maybe infrastructure, although there's a question about how much we can spend given the magnitude of our fiscal deficits these days. But there'll be industries where Trump wants to find a few quick wins, and Democrats will want to as well.
You said that you wanted to see a few more results come through before you were able to sort of, I suppose, quantify in your mind what trade wars meant in this election. What did you mean by that?
Well, the question is, did it hurt the president, Republicans in rural states such as Nebraska, where farming is an important part of the economy? And we just don't know yet. And that's an important feedback loop for the president. You know, with respect to trade wars, it really is about the markets and the economy, but there's certain sectors like the ag sector, which is important to the president.
We are hosting the New Economy Forum in Singapore, and we had the Vice President from China there, and he more or less rhetorically offered an olive branch to the United States. What is the biggest danger from trade wars in your mind, if they escalate? Because some people sort of say, look, he's going to do a deal very quickly. But if they escalate, what is the biggest threat?
Sure, it undermines confidence in the markets, which ultimately bleeds into the real economy. Two, you end up moving supply chains in ways which are really disruptive. And three, maybe higher costs for consumers in the United States and other places as well.
The Federal Reserve has a tough job on their hands, I would say, both in terms of the data and in terms of politics. If this does stymie the president in terms of his tax envisage that he promised the people of the United States of America, where are we with the Fed? They are data dependent. How aggressive will the Fed be in 2019? Does it matter is it going to really dislocate markets at all?
Sure. Well, I have enormous confidence in Jay Powell and the rest of the board. They really are seasoned pros. I think he's laid out a vision for where he wants to go in 2019, maybe 3 hikes. Very data dependent. If the economy turns south or softens a bit, they may pull back. But I think the biggest risk is the president unnecessarily demonizing the Fed, and I think that hurts their credibility.
Can I get an opinion from you just on the UK? Steve Eisman is shorting UK banks. He wrote The Big Short. You know who he is. He's got a very, very negative view on the UK. I want to get a sense from you. Once banks leave the City of London, once Sergio Modi moves as bankers, once SocGen moves as bankers, is that a generational shift? In other words, when banks go, it's darned hard to get them back.
I don't think London's going to cease being a major financial capital. We may see a few jobs move to Frankfurt or Paris or Dublin, but in fact, London will continue to play an important role. It's an important ecosystem. We have an office there. I'm actually long UK banks. I'm a big believer in the CEOs there, so I'm very supportive of London as a financial center. Here
in the region, we're grappling with the discourse between Saudi Arabia and the United States of America over the Khashoggi affair. In terms of capital flows and a destination, we're here in Abu Dhabi. What is that affair, what is that big geopolitical issue done? Will it dislocate the flow of capital, do you think? It hasn't so far. Well, there's a tremendous amount of local capital. There's a lot of liquidity here being put to work. But we have seen what a little bit of capital fled has actually come back. I was in Qatar a couple of days ago, and there's a tremendous amount of non-resident capital coming into Qatar and actually coming into the UAE. So liquidity in capital is not a problem.